Yes, we are recording. Hello, I'm Charlie, founder and head poodle dog walker for Momentus. Welcome today to another very lovely episode of the Gen Padalecki Book Club show. We are going to have a great conversation today, so get your questions ready about this awesome book. Can't wait to hear Becky Dean speak about this book as well. It's such a fun book, bestseller. A few quick notes. Jen will be taking questions from the audience, so please use the Q&A box. The chat is now open. We'd love to hear where you're from, who's here, do a little roll call. So by all means, get in there and say hello. Love to hear from you. But yeah, use the Q&A box to send us your questions about the book or the writing process or Becky's travel photography, whatever you like. We're all here in Austin having a good time. So if you want to send in that question, just use that Q&A box. And really excited to get to it. Anyway, you don't want to hear from me. I have nothing here to add. Let's hang out with our guest today. So Becky, let's bring you in. Jen, let's bring you in. There we go. Hey guys.
Hi, poodle
Hello.
dog walker. What did I miss?
Listen, sometimes you have to diversify the income a little bit. You know what I mean? It's a very multifaceted job. I'm going
I
to let
love
you guys
it.
talk about books while I go walk a dog. I'll be back.
Good luck. Hi, Becky.
Hi, thanks for
Um,
having me. It's so nice to meet you.
it's so nice to meet you too. I love that we're all in Austin and we're all
Yeah.
virtual. So hopefully we can meet in real life soon.
Yes.
Um,
Enjoying the warm summer in our air-conditioned homes.
I know, seriously, I know. I feel like we're all afraid to go outside. It's just way
Yeah.
too hot. So, um, so I Hearts Overboard.
Mhm.
Love a good YA, and this one is a wonderful summer fun read.
Mhm.
And I'm so excited to get into Hearts Overboard and chat all things
Mhm.
wonderful about Hearts Overboard. And so for anyone who has not picked it up yet, Hearts Overboard, I'm going to keep saying that so everyone knows to go pick up your Hearts Overboard. It's your ticket to a whirlwind Alaskan cruise where Savannah and Tanner's long-standing rivalry takes an unexpected turn through breathtaking landscapes and heart-pounding adventures, which I love. I love a good heart-pounding. Um, Thank you so much for joining this conversation. I'm just very
Yeah,
excited.
good. I'm excited to be here.
Um, for those of you who I'm sure everyone here has read it, but just in case, maybe you can give a quick synopsis and maybe also start with your inspiration for Hearts Overboard.
Yeah, so it starts with a girl named Savannah who suffers a very public and embarrassing breakup on the last day of her junior year. Her ex tells her she's stuck in her ways and she gets the lovely nickname of More the Bore. And so she decides to use her family's Alaskan cruise to prove she can be fun and adventurous and kind of hopefully win her ex back and prove that she can, not be a boring person. And she's stuck on the cruise with her longtime nemesis, who her parents and his parents are best friends. And so they sort of end up stuck together and he offers to help. And so they set off on adventures in Alaska together. Yeah, the inspiration. So my first two books are both travel romances. And my editor wanted more, which I love writing because I love to travel. And I was just sort of thinking places first. So this one, actually, the location came first. I was thinking about all the places that people love to visit and sort of the bucket list type trips and Alaskan cruises. So many people, that's just what they would love to do. And then I kind of played with some of the romance tropes. And so Rivals to Lovers is one of my favorites just because the tension and the getting to know somebody that you didn't expect to like so much. And so it just sort of grew from there. Savannah on the cruise decides to try one new thing a day is kind of her, I don't know, her strategy, I guess. And I actually did that a few years ago. It was a one new thing per month, but just to kind of shake things up, try some new restaurants in the area, some museums, went skydiving, some stuff like that, just to sort of you know, you, especially when you live in a city for so long, it's like you miss a bunch of fun stuff. And so I just was in that mood. And so I thought that would be a fun kind of strategy for her in Alaska. Like you're in this great place with so many things to see, and let's specifically look for things we've never done before and try those. So
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I love that one, it's also inspired a bit by your own life, so it feels like it's propelling a story and being inspired also with that. And I love that perspective from a YA
mhm.
genre because, you know, like I I think it's so important, and I get reminded every time I read a YA novel of the importance of reading it because it is, in a way, trying something new through the eyes of someone who is young, and the world is so big, and they have all these grand ideas of what life is like and how they're supposed to live their lives. And for Hannah in particular, who is sort of more the bore, which she's not, in fact, but she has a way about living her life, and this fact that, you know, Tanner can come in and kind of help inspire and encourage her to try all these new things. And I absolutely I found myself being in that character and in that moment of inspiration, which is just, it's so refreshing and rewarding. I really feel like in YA books. Can you talk a little bit about, I guess, writing in that genre and why?
Yeah, I guess when I started writing a long, long time ago, before getting published, it just kind of is what came out, I guess. And now it's really what I love to read. I love YA because not that adult books can't be creative, but I feel like in YA, literally anything goes, right? You can have every genre. The fantasy is wild, the sci-fi is out there. But I also just really love the themes of kind of finding who you are and finding who you want to be in the world. And you kind of think you have these ideas, but what if you were wrong about them, or who do you want to become? And then I love the travel romance aspect of it, just because travel is really a great way. I love to travel, of discovering more about yourself and the world and opening your eyes to new things. The first time I left the country was in high school, and it was just so eye-opening, like these whole new ways of life and things you never have seen before. And then how do you respond to that as a person? And so I just love that teens are in a place in their life where I think most of them are far smarter and more interesting than many adults give them credit for. And so I like writing teen characters that are kind of discovering the world and themselves and doing it while they fall in love, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that love is key. I love I love a good rom-com. And I especially love, I know we talked a little bit about like the rivals to lovers romance. And obviously like that is kind of at the forefront of this book. What were your favorite parts of exploring those dynamics?
Yeah, that's my favorite trope, just because it's so the tension is so fun. And I feel like in the real world, enemies to lovers maybe is a little strong, because how many of us have like mortal enemies like you could in a science fiction novel or something like that. But the rivals is definitely a thing, this person that you've kind of grown up not really liking, and you think you know who they are, but you find out you really don't. And so it was just really fun to write their banter. That's my favorite thing to write, is the dialogue. But then also just the digging deeper and the seeing new sides of a person that like you never really tried to see before. When you're stuck in this new situation, sort of new things coming out, and you're like, oh, maybe I was wrong about them. But then you still have that history of not liking each other. So it's like, can I really get over that? And they still do things that annoy you. And so it's just kind of that fun tension.
The undercurrent, and they really definitely have different undercurrents and drives that sort of propel them forward. And I thought that that was very beautifully done through your book, because it wasn't, I feel like sometimes too with YA, there's that like lean in of the tropes, and I felt like they were really whole characters that really came to life and brought their angst with them and their um, sort of their history without like hitting people over the head with it. And I loved that, because you could feel the push and pull with them, and you could feel the history with them, and then on top of it being stuck on a boat where they can't really like escape each other, you know.
And I tried to drop in a lot of little like things from their past about reasons that they wouldn't like each other, like where she got him in trouble and he tried to get her to do things she didn't want to do.
Yes, I love that, because you really as a reader got to experience like how they came to this point and why they have these feelings, and they're trying to explore these feelings and sort of hit that crossroads of like, how do we move forward in that? Who going back to like the dialogue and being able to write for them, like that is something that I find is so hard. Like I love to write as well. I'm not published. I'm not a writer by any means, but like when it comes to like thinking about writing a story, I find that the dialogue often for me is the most challenging. And I love hearing that it's so like that's the part that you enjoy the most. Like how did you explore their banter and their dialogue? Because it is so fun and so well written.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm just a snarky person, because it just kind of comes out. I start writing, and usually one of my editor's notes is, can we like cut the banter just a little bit? Because I love it, but there's a little too much. And so I have to go through and kind of leave the best parts. But yeah, it's mostly I save it usually for the days I'm feeling especially snarky, right? And so I'll just sit down and I'll write like 2 pages worth of dialogue and have to go back and add all of the other stuff later. So
Love it. That's
it's
amazing.
just my attitude. I don't know.
And did you what was that process like of did you have like I'm gonna create this beat and this beat and this beat or what was that? How did you start and I guess like how did you get through that adventure? Like how do you map out your books? What's your process?
Yeah, they talk about like whether writers are outliners or whether you can just kind of write by the seat of your pants and discover it as you go. And I'm kind of in the middle. So I usually block out some major points and I want to know how it's going to end, but I don't necessarily plot every scene. But one thing that's great about the travel romances is they kind of plot themselves because like what I started with this book was, okay, they're going on an Alaskan cruise. So first I need an itinerary. So they're going to be in these cities. Here are the options for what to do in each of these places they go. Which ones am I going to pick for a good variety? And then you have sort of like the outline of the plot because here's all the things they're going to be doing in each place. And that just sort of made the rest of it easier. I made a giant list of everything you can do on a cruise ship and just all of that. So it was kind of like planning a trip, kind of planned the plot at the same time for this one.
Yeah.
So
That's a great way of looking at it. And so going back to the itinerary and to the setting of the Alaskan cruise, including the boat itself and some onshore excursions, how do you feel like it enhanced or got in the way of, the relationship between Hannah and Tanner? Like, what were some ways that it helped bring them together?
yeah, I kind of picked it. Well, I kind of paired that with Savannah more for her growth at the beginning. I like to challenge my characters. And so when I had the setting for an Alaskan cruise, I love outdoor adventure. I love trying new stuff. Like we go to Alaska. We went once and I wanted to do everything and we didn't have time to do everything. So I thought it's more fun for a character to read about a character who's not that way, who's maybe not so thrilled about the trip. It's challenging for them. They aren't excited about it like some people would be, and they have to learn and grow from it. It's a challenge. And so that's kind of where Savannah's character came from, was wanting to put somebody into that situation who wouldn't be quite as excited as some of us would be, but then giving her the opposite of somebody who is, and can kind of help her along with that. And so I think that just the beauty of Alaska, the nature of doing all of those adventurous things kind of forces you out of your comfort zone, which is what the book's really about. So
Yeah, absolutely. Did you ever find that you were out of your comfort zone in writing some of this? Did you find that there were some restrictions in the setting or anything that was
No, I mean, this one actually came together like really smoothly. Some of my books, I feel like I fight a lot, and this
Really?
one just really didn't. It was a lot of fun. I didn't get to do everything. Like I said, my husband and I had been to Alaska a few years ago, so I used some of the things that we did, but some of the things that Tanner and Savannah do, we didn't. So either had to use other experiences or do some research. But other than that, we've been on some cruises. So this one was actually one of my easier books to write, I think.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, it was a very fun and easy in like a very beautiful way because it just got me through my summer. Like it was just such a sweet, easy, fun like read. And I love that because I find that those books can be so, I'm sure, so hard to write a book that you make it look easy, and which it feels like. And I'm sure it is not. I would love to know about your writing process. Like I think one of the things I really love about learning about authors is the process. Some people and authors love to write, like I've heard, I forget the exact page count or number word count, but it's like a couple thousand words a day is their goal. Like, do you have goals or ways that you like to structure your time when you write?
Yeah, so when I first started writing, I had a more than full-time job. So it was literally 1,000 words a day when I started was my goal. But now I just work part-time and writing as my other part-time job. Um, so my rough draft, I usually spend a few weeks kind of planning the book. So a rough outline, not a full outline, but kind of the major plot points, who the characters are, kind of on a high level. I don't usually know them super well till I finish writing the first draft, but at least kind of their rough personalities, what they're interested in. And then I like to take 2 or 3 weeks and just write the whole first draft really fast and really terrible. And it's usually pretty short because I'll leave out some things, like, oh, I need to research this scene, or oh, I need a scene where something specific happens, but I don't know exactly how to do it. So I'll usually end up with about a 50,000 word rough draft that's really terrible. It's kind of like an outline slash draft. And then I'll go back and do, 2 or 3 rounds of filling in and editing and looking at the major kind of themes or the character arcs and that kind of stuff and fill those in over the next several months. So
That's awesome. I'm sure it's not that terrible. I'm sure it's
no,
probably
it is. It's usually kind of half outlined. It's like, oh, I know that 2 or 3 things need to happen here, but I don't know exactly what. So we'll just come back later. And then future me is mad at past me for leaving all these blank spots.
No, but I feel like you have to have those blank spots to explore, right? Like that's really
Yeah.
important to have. And if you flush it all out in the beginning, then sometimes you can get stuck of like, oh crap, and you have to scrap it or
Yeah. Yeah. And then when you go back, I find that I know the characters better the next time through. So it's a little bit easier to do more of that.
of course, that makes total sense. Did you have a favorite character that you were writing for?
In this book, oh
Yeah.
gosh. I mean, Savannah was great just because I love science fiction shows. And so it was really fun to give her like that
Like
aspect.
Dr.
I
Who?
always try to give my characters like some interest or thing that they do that like me or a family member are interested in. And so I really enjoyed getting to put all of the science fiction nerd references in there for myself.
That's awesome. Yeah, I loved all the Doctor Who. That was really
Yeah.
fun. Um, and what, sorry, I have like a million, I have like all these notes. I'm like, I tend to digress, but and who was the hardest, do you think, for you to write for?
Oh man. This one. Probably also Savannah, just because she's so opposite from me in the not wanting to try things. When I travel, I love to sample new foods and go exploring and get lost and go on adventures. And she's kind of the opposite. So in a lot of things, it was like, girl, why don't you want to do these things? And she was like, no, 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 that doesn't sound like fun. And I'm like, yeah, 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 it does.
Oh,
So,
yeah. That's awesome. I could see that. I could understand why, like that push and pull of like, but wait, this is so fun. Um, what, where do you think, I don't want to spoil anything. I absolutely love the ending. I felt like the payoff was like great. Like all these points that you set up were such a beautiful payoff. Where do you see Tanner and Hannah in, let's say, 5 years from now?
yeah, so without spoilers, so I actually did write an epilogue for this book 6 months later, but my editor had me cut it, which I ended up agreeing with. So I'll probably eventually be sharing that online somewhere. But it's 6 months later, and they're still together, obviously. So I find them 5 years would probably be Savannah in grad school and Tanner like starting his teaching job in the same city together somewhere. So
Cute. I love it. I love a good romance. What are you reading this summer?
oh gosh. What did I just read? I'm in the middle of one called Heir Apparently. It's the second book in the Prince and the Apocalypse series. It's kind of this wild YA like romance where a girl falls in love with the Prince of England.
Yeah.
That's been fun. What else? I haven't been reading a ton. I had a baby just a few months ago, and so I'm like desperately behind in my reading and my TV watching. And I'm like, oh yeah, the Olympics are happening. I love the Olympics. Wait, what's happening?
Yeah.
So I'm kind of a little behind, but that's what I'm currently reading is kind of a
Well,
YA
you have a great
romance.
excuse. I mean,
Yeah.
that kudos to you. And this is your first baby, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. I felt so overwhelmed. I can only imagine how you must feel, like especially releasing a new book and having an infant and like you are super mom. That's
Yeah,
incredible.
the writing process, ask me again next year because I have no idea how I'm going to write the next book still. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, just give yourself grace,
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the wild thing about parenthood is that you have absolutely no idea what to expect, no
Yeah.
matter how many books you read, I just feel like you don't know what you don't know. Um, what do you hope that your readers will take away from Hearts Overboard?
Oh yeah. I always try to put like some kind of little theme. Like I don't write just for a theme. I write for the characters and their journey, but I always hope that readers kind of come away with something sort of encouraging. And so in this one, it's really Savannah is super a creature of habit, right? She doesn't want to change things. She doesn't want to step outside her comfort zone or outside the little box that she's made for herself. And I think even those of us who do like to travel or try new things have those comfort zones, things that we just prefer because it's easier. And so I hope that readers just come away with the encouragement that sometimes it is good to try new things, to, try that new restaurant or go to that new place or meet that new person and just kind of occasionally get out of the rut that you get in your everyday life. And you might find something you don't expect. So.
Yeah, no, I definitely took away from that. I took that away from the book. I think again to go back to like that YA genre of, that like everything and nothing at the same time, and to get out of your comfort zone. And what really stuck out for me is that here are these characters that are having these like moments as a grown adult with my own kids now. Like there are so many of these moments when you're young, these pivotal moments that help you get to where we are now, and to get out of your comfort zone and push yourself is so much a part of that. And to witness these characters go through that is quite a beautiful experience. So I loved it. Um, what else? What's up? What's next for you? Are you working on anything new? Are you focusing on parenthood or?
Yeah, no, I have a fourth travel romance coming out next summer, with the same publisher. So this one is going to be set in Venice, and my husband and I got to go last summer for a research trip, which is fabulous. And so we haven't, the cover and everything will be released this fall, but it's sort of a hidden identity because masks in Venice are super fun, and so hidden identity romance, in Venice. So that'll be out next year.
I'm so excited. I can't wait to read. Um, I am going to go to the audience because I see that there's a ton of questions. Hold on one second. I'm having some issues. Oopsie. Let me get to it. Sorry, guys. Okay. So I'm gonna get to some audience questions. So Jason Joyner was wondering, how do your critique partners or writing community help you in your craft?
Yes, I am so blessed to have an amazing writing community. We have a group of 8 of us, and we met through writing conferences over the years, and now we just sort of have an online group, and we meet monthly online and talk about writing and encourage each other and help with marketing and just all that kind of stuff. And they are just amazing. It's just great to have writer friends who understand what it is to be a writer, and which is usually kind of, solitary, sitting at your screen all day long. But having people who understand that, but who also have the ability to help, and they've just become like family. And so they they are basically super encouraging. I did this for a very long time with lots of rejections before getting published. And so they were there with me through all of that. And now that I'm published and have books out there, they're my biggest cheerleaders. And so, yeah.
That's amazing. What a gift. But that's a great question, and I love that, especially being an artist. Like it's so nice to rely on other artists or fall back on that community and to continually encourage each other in that way and learn and build from each other or on each other. Do you have Hayden Curry is wondering, do you have a personal favorite part of the book or part that you were the most proud of?
Oh, favorite part. I really had fun writing the dinner scene where they eat escargot and then she goes on stage at the magic show just because I made myself laugh. So probably that for the fun. And then without spoilers, I'm really proud of the ending, like you mentioned. That wasn't like the setting for how all of that happened wasn't really planned out necessarily. And so when it happened, it was like, this feels really unique. Like I'm kind of proud of myself for writing this. And so I just really love how it all came together at the last couple chapters.
Yeah, those were my favorites too. That's wild. Gabby is wondering, my friend Lauren wonders, is there a fictional couple from a book that you've read that reminds you of you and your husband? Yes, sorry.
Gosh, nothing comes to mind. My husband and I are both like super introvert, like very similar personality. So I feel like a lot of books, like if people were like us, they wouldn't be super interesting because they would just stay home all the time and watch sports and read books and then occasionally go on big vacations. But
That sounds like heaven.
but it's not a whole lot of books necessarily. So
Well, I don't know. I think it sounds pretty interesting.
if you know of any books, I'm open to recommendations of two nerdy introverts who
I know. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I know. I think most of the books that like, yeah, I guess it is nice to get out of that, like reading wise. It's not, yeah. There's not a whole lot to talk about, I guess, when you're at home and you're just like digesting information, but I know what you mean. We're very similar in that way. Where do you find inspiration for your characters and your storylines from Arita, and what made you decide to write YA instead of adult?
Yeah, YA instead of adult. Partly I like the pacing. You can in YA better. Not that adult books are all slow, but lots of them when I read, they feel kind of slow to me. I like how fast YA moves.
Mm.
And then I like the themes of just I write light, happy books. They're not super, I don't know. Most of my characters haven't been through major trauma or anything like that. And I feel like a lot of adult books too go a little bit darker. So I like being able to sort of just be light and happy. And then I really just love providing kind of uplifting books for teenagers. I've loved to read my whole life. And so as a teenager, I would have loved to have this kind of book. So I just kind of write for, young people that want that kind of thing. And it's just rewarding. So what was the first part of that question?
Oh, I just the inspiration, but it
Oh,
sounds
yeah.
like you answered that.
Yeah. I find as a writer, kind of inspiration comes from everywhere. So my
Mm.
characters, none of my characters are specifically based on one person that I had in mind. They kind of each have a little bit of me, a little bit of people I know. I like to give them interests that I like. So whether that's sports or nature photography, or in this case, science fiction shows and football. So a little bit of that. And then really just the travel too. I think that travel is inspiring. And so that's why I love writing these books that are set in fun places.
That's awesome. And you can write it off. I'm all about writing off things,
That
Charlie.
was amazing. Like I told my husband, I wrote the rough draft of the book for Venice that comes out next summer, and it just really needed work. And I was like, this would really help if we could go on a research trip, and it's tax deductible.
That's what I
So
mean. Yeah, like, hey, I got to go to Fiji right now. I'm writing research.
yep. It's like, where do you want to go next year? Great, I'll send a book there.
We here at Momentus don't agree with the tax strategies talked about during this event. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Uh, you can add to the Slack chat later. Um, okay, so Mandy, she is writing the first book, which will be released in 2 months. Do you have any do's and don'ts about promotion?
Yeah. Oh gosh, promotion is kind of every author's like the bane of our existence because
Yeah.
we love these books we've written, but we know that and we want other people to love them, but we also know if we talk about it all the time, people either get sick of it or they don't care, and it's hard to talk about it and then people don't care. Um, but just do what's fun. So like I love Instagram, and so that's mostly where I am. I've recently switched to Substack for a newsletter, and I really just enjoy writing a monthly sort of ramblings of my thoughts and what's going on. Um, and then just finding people to help too. So just friends and other authors. I don't know if Mandy's in the group for debut authors this year, but that was really helpful for me too when my first book came out in 2022, and we had a debut author group that year just to sort of post each other's books and share the journey. And so finding other people and then just doing what you enjoy. Don't try to make yourself do everything because you can drive yourself crazy trying to be on every social media and do everything there is. So just try to enjoy the process rather than stress yourself out.
I think that's great advice. I think it's so easy to get caught up in the rat race of it all and think that you're supposed to go lean this way or that way, and it's just being authentic, it sounds like.
Yeah.
And how you have so many questions, so I don't want to burn you out, but I'll get to a couple more. Amy is wondering how you deal with self-doubt and writer's block, assuming that you experience either of them.
Yeah. The writer's block thing, for me, I generally find it's because I don't know my story well enough. And so it's less like I don't know what to write next. It's like what are these characters going to do next? And so just sort of taking a walk, taking a break, stepping away for a little bit and just sort of letting your mind work in the background helps me for the writer's block a lot. Or just skip ahead to something you're excited to write about. So it's like, oh, I don't know what's happening next, but let's skip ahead and write the dog sled scene because that sounds like fun, that kind of thing. Self-doubt. Yeah, I guess all writers kind of go through that. I don't know. Maybe it's like I don't know, not good pride or something, but I love my books. I feel like I've done a good job with them. I'm proud of them. I know that not everybody loves this kind of story, and that's fine. And so, just believe in yourself. If you love what you've written, that's what's important. If you did the best that you could and you're happy with it.
I think that's great advice. And I think it's universal, right? To keep on plugging away and keep focused on what you love. And I think that's beautiful.
Yeah. I love the writing. So even when it was looking like, oh gosh, am I ever going to be published? Maybe I'll just go self-publish everything, which is a valid career path for lots of people. But I was really hoping for the traditional contract. I still loved the writing. It was never a question of giving up the writing part of it. So
That's beautiful. No matter what, it's like focusing on the art
mhm.
of it all. And let's see. Oh, one more. Hayden is wondering, I think this is a great question. Do you think that you would ever try to write in a genre that is out of your comfort zone? And what genre would you consider to be out of your comfort zone?
Oh gosh. So I also write science fiction. So I have a science fiction series published under BL Dean, which is my other love is the science fiction genre. And the first book in that series, it's straight up space opera, kind of Star Wars feel. But the first book in the series, when I first started writing it, was going to be like an Agatha Christie in space kind of mystery novel, like a murder mystery on a spaceship.
That's cool.
And because I love Agatha Christie, I love mysteries, and it just was not. So mystery would probably be way out of my comfort zone. Like it was not going well. I scrapped the murder plot. I scrapped the Agatha Christie stuff and just turned it into an adventure novel. So probably the mystery part. Yeah, I don't know if I could do that.
It seems like mystery is more like baking, where you have to have like the mechanics of all that have to work together and interlock.
The
Where
Yeah.
tracking of it.
another
I
type of writing is
had
more
like I
cooking.
had a giant Excel spreadsheet with like all the suspects and what secrets they had and where they could be when the murder was, and it
Oh
just still
man.
was not. Yeah. So
Yeah, it seems like I think I love that analogy of the ingredients, Charlie, because I feel like if you add too much of this and you don't have enough of this, then it all kind of like a comedy. Although
Yeah.
you do the comedy of this is like amazing, but and your ingredients are perfect. It's you just have to have the right dash of this to like tee it up. And I would imagine the mysteries,
yeah.
yeah, overwhelming because you have to track it all at the same time.
So love to read a good one, but don't know if I would ever be able to
Yeah.
write a good one.
Big time.
Oh, well, thank you again. I absolutely loved Hearts Overboard, and we are going to make sure that we post it in stories and get your book in everyone's hands because this is a perfect summer read. Absolutely loved it, and I love your writing. It's so
Oh,
fun and
thank you.
so beautiful,
Thanks.
and just such a like easy breezy, beautiful, comforting book. And I so appreciate it. I so appreciate you taking the time and being here, and for everyone's questions. Is there anything else that you want your audience to know?
No, just thank you for having me, and thanks to everybody who tuned in for all the questions. And I just love hearing you say that because that's really my goal with my writing is to just kind of leave people feeling good with a smile on their face and have it be kind of a comfort read. So I'm glad to know that it worked this time. So
So much fun.
Mission
And
accomplished.
follow Becky on Instagram at Becky Dean Writes. Go follow her on Instagram so you can keep up to date on what Becky's working on. And thank you,
yeah,
Becky, so much. And
yeah,
thank
thank you
you,
guys.
Jen. Thank you,
Mhm.
Jen, for supporting books and authors as usual, as ever, as always. What's next for the book club? Do you want to tease anything out about what we're doing? Got a little something this month, right? That we're
We do. Um, I don't know where the book went.
It's not like you
Jen
have a
makes
lot
my
of
reading list
books.
longer.
I
Well,
know.
like several books on my reading list because Jen recommends them, and I'm like, dang it, stop adding to my list.
I honestly like I mean it is such a nightmare in this office right now. Like I mean, I have some that are like on my list. Like I have the Summer Pact, I have
Yeah.
this Anne Quindlen, I have this Fairy one. I don't know if I'll get to them. I just read The Dutch House, which I don't know how I had not read Anne Patchett, which is if you haven't read Anne Patchett, like also proof. But I will say I did find my book for August.
Okay. Good.
Also in the YA genre, although this one is definitely not the YA. I think we call it, is it MA? Mature audience? What are we calling it
Maybe
again?
new adult,
Yeah.
Adult, but
like new adult.
new adult. Thank you. I knew mature is a little bit, that sounds a little, probably leaning a little far, but also a beautiful, wonderful, incredible writer, like yourself, Becky. But Casey McQuiston's The Pairing, also a fun travel adventure. We're gonna stick in that vein, and so this one comes out, I believe, mid-August.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I don't. Oh no, that's not true. August 6th, next week.
Oh my God. And
Yeah.
you're doing an event with Casey, right?
Yes, we and Becky, if you are able to come on August 16th at Barnes and Noble, we will be doing an in-person live event. There might be a special guest for those of you wondering. I'm not going to say who it is,
You're
but
teasing.
there might be a special guest. Anyways,
Hmm.
this comes out August 6th, And August 16th, Barnes & Noble at here in Austin. Very excited. Very, very
It's gonna be awesome.
excited.
It's gonna be
Yeah.
awesome.
Oh.
Well, thank you, Becky. Thank you, Jen. Amazing work. Go get the book. Go follow Becky on Instagram. Have a great day, everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
Happy Thursday.